Here are today's top stories. The families of 7 seafarers detained in Libya ask for help from President Duterte. COMELEC approves a petition of 8 barangays in North Cotabato to join the Bangsamoro Organic Law plebiscite. Leaders of Congress agree on amendments in the bill abolishing the road board. And Baguio City records its coldest temperature so far this month.
Good day, I'm Pia Roses Morato. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The families of 7 Filipino seafarers detained in Libya are asking President Rodrigo Duterte to save them. The 7 were part of a group that was believed to be wrongfully detained on suspicion of smuggling. More on these from Joyce Kudis.
The relatives of 7 Filipino seafarers who have been detained in Libya called on President Rodrigo Duterte to intervene in the fast release of their loved ones. Crystal Alera, wife of a Filipino officer on board the Liberian flag tanker MT Levante, said their loved ones are detained in Tripoli since August 2017. Alera's spouse, together with 6 other officers, was among the 20 Filipino sailors detained in August 2017 for alleged oil smuggling. 13 of them were released in February 2018. The Department of Foreign Affairs and the Department of Labor and Employment have extended legal aid and assistance within their capacity to the seamen.
We have constant communication with them, and by law, yung kanunong benefits ng mga detained seafarers na ibibigay regularly by the manning agencies.
For the PNA Newsroom, I am Joyce Kudis.
The Philippine National Police has set up over 6,000 checkpoints in strategic areas nationwide as of Tuesday. During the first 3 days of the gun ban for the 2019 midterm elections, authorities have arrested 45 persons and seized 47 firearms. The PNP also recorded 8 incidents of election-related violence, 6 in Calabarzon and 2 in Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde says there will be daily updates of reported gun ban violations for the entire duration of the election period. Aside from being a deputized agency of the poll body, the PNP is also tasked to dismantle private armed groups, provide security to vulnerable candidates, lead the accounting for loose firearms, and neutralize gun-for-hire and criminal gangs. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources will start the rehabilitation of Manila Bay with a simultaneous cleanup drive on Sunday. DNR Secretary Roy Simatu says there will be a 3-phase rehabilitation of Manila Bay. The first phase will target esteros and coasts of Manila Bay. The second phase will be on educating the public about solid waste management. And the third phase will focus on sustaining efforts to save Manila Bay from further environmental degradation. DNR and its partners seek to improve Manila Bay's water quality as its water pollution is far worse than Boracay Island. The target is to lower coliform levels until Manila Bay's waters will be fit again for swimming and other contact forms of recreation. The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency has noted a significant rise in the number of drug trafficking incidents involving foreign express delivery and domestic courier services in 2018. According to PDEA, the number of intercepted illegal drugs via courier services rose to 35, a 775% increase from 4 incidents in 2017. Last year, PDEA arrested 11 consignees and signed a total estimated market value of over 672 million pesos worth of shabu, ecstasy tablets, and marijuana in mail and parcel interdiction operations in airports and seaports. PDEA Director Aaron Aquino says smuggling is one of the modus used by drug syndicates to ensure the supply of illegal drugs in the country. He says most of the intercepted packages originated from California, USA. Aquino attributed the increase to the interception of drug-laden parcels to the enhanced capability of PDEA personnel to detect them. PDEA agents assigned in the airports and seaports have undergone X-ray cargo screening training conducted by the Office of the Transportation Security. The Philippine National Police denies red tagging legitimate activist groups, and Filipinos in Kenya are warned against terror attacks. More on these and other news around the metro from Benj Bondok.
The PNP denies red tagging or tagging as communist terrorists progressive left and activist groups. PNP spokesman Benigno Durana stresses that it was CPP founding chair Jose Maria Sison himself who red-tagged Bayan, Kilusang Magbubukid ng Pilipinas, Kilusang Mayo 1, Gabriela, League of Filipino Students, Alliance of Concerned Teachers, and Cadena as communist fronts. Durana says while police are mandated to eliminate enemies of the state, they are not targeting groups that spread legitimate dissent in the spirit of democracy. Meanwhile, tricycle drivers and passengers in Quezon City are now insured in case of accidents. Quezon City Mayor Herbert Bautista signed an ordinance that mandates the granting of personal accident insurance for tricycles. A tricycle driver or a passenger who gets into an accident may receive compensation from 7,500 to 50,000 pesos. The insurance program will be split between the city government and the tricycle operators. In other news, Filipinos in Nairobi, Kenya are advised to avoid the Westlands neighborhood following a suspected terror attack in the area. The embassy is on lockdown after gunmen stormed the Dusit D2 hotel and office complex in the affluent neighborhood 3 kilometers away. It urged the more than 400 Filipinos in Nairobi to remain indoors and to avoid the area. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondok.
Still to come, COMELEC approves the petition of 8 barangays in North Cotabato to join the Bangsamoro Organic Law plebiscite. Police in Cebu City look out for the spread of illegal drugs during the Sinulog Festival. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Ito ang Duterte on Duty. Ulat sa ginagawa ng Presidente.
January 4, Biyernes. Nag-aerial inspection si Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte sa mga lugar na nasalanta ng Bagyong Usman sa Albay at Camarines Sur. Sinundan ito ng situation briefing at tinalakay ang naging kabuuang pinsala ng bagyo. January 7, Lunes, Malacanang. Pinanumpa ng Pangulo si General Carlito Galvez Jr. bilang Presidential Advisor on Peace Process. Kinagabihan ay pinulong naman niya ang kanyang gabinete para sa 33rd Cabinet Meeting. January 8, Martes, Pasay City. Pinangunahan ni na Pangulong Duterte at DILG Secretary Eduardo Anyo ang Barangay Summit on Peace and Order na dinaluhan ng nasa 4,000 lokal na opisyal mula sa National Capital Region. Inanunsyo rin niya ang planong rehabilitasyon sa Manila Bay.
Kaya sabi ko kay Roy Simato, Jan Simato, pati si Jan Anyo, you start cleaning the Manila Bay. And it will be, they will start to clean it. Lagyan ninyong water treatment yung hotel nyo, pag hindi, siraan ko yan. Huwag mo akong hamunin. You do something about your waste there or otherwise I will close it. Sigurado yan.
Malacanang. Nag-courtesy call sa Pangulo ang President and Delegation of the House of Councilors of Japan. January 9, Miyerkules. Imasalang Masbate. Inilunsad ng Pangulo ang programang Negosyo-Serbisyo sa Barangay na may layong palitan ang sistemang 5-6 sa pamagitan ng microfinancing o pautang sa maliliit na negosyante. Kataingan Masbate. Personal na kinausap ni Pangulong Duterte ang nasa 200 dating miyembro ng New People's Army na sumuko sa gobyerno. Ako po si Secretary Martin Andanar at ito ang Duterte on Duty. Abangan sa susunod na linggo ang mga gagawin ng Pangulo.
Eight more villages in North Cotabato have been given the green light by the Commission on Elections to participate in the plebiscite for the ratification of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. The COMELEC in an en banc session approved the petitions of barangays in Piquet Town, Cabacan, and Midsayap to participate in the plebiscite. The poll body, however, denied the petitions of 8 other barangays, including Landangua and Busay in Zamboanga City, for lack of merit. So far, 28 out of 44 villages in North Cotabato were allowed to participate in the plebiscite on February 6, along with others who opt to join the BOL's proposed Bangsamoro region. Voters in the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao and the cities of Cotabato and Isabela in Basilan are voting earlier on January 21. The Trade Union Congress of the Philippines says they might file a wage increase petition from 313 pesos to 355 pesos. The TUCP is using as basis the expected movement in the prices of commodities due to the implementation of new excise tax on fuel under the train law this year. On the other hand, the Federation of Philippine Industries voiced strong opposition to any initiative to force another wage hike. FPI Chairman Jesus Aranza insisted that the only reasonable manner to approach the wage issue is by going through the collective bargaining agreement route. Economists expect the Philippine economic growth trajectory to pick up this year. Economists from the First Metro Investments Corporation and the University of Asia and the Pacific are looking at a growth rate between 6.8% and 7.2%, brought by an upturn in consumption spending and improving inflation outlook. They also cited the expected increase in spending for the coming elections. The projected economic expansion is within the government's 7% to 8% growth target for the year. They say economy will still be driven by industry, construction, and manufacturing, as well as sustained fiscal stimulus from infrastructure spending. Meanwhile, inflation is on a clear downward trend and is expected to taper off to 3% to 3.5% as food supply and global oil prices return to normal. The Department of Agriculture is addressing the 2-day oversupply of some vegetables in the Cordillera region. The oversupply of carrots, radish, and wombok on January 7 and 8 is attributed to farmers harvesting the same commodity on the same day. Officer in charge, Dr. Cameron Odsey, says they cannot impose on farmers not to plant a particular commodity on a specific date. A crop survey collated from all the local government units involved in vegetable production already took place to compute the damages in agricultural production. DA Cordillera plans to share the survey report to farmers to guide them in deciding whether or not to plant a particular commodity on a specific date. Despite the oversupply, the other vegetables had steady supply and prices. The DSWD sends additional aid to the victims of Tropical Depression Usman. Meanwhile, police in Cebu warned the public about the spread of illegal drugs during the Sinulog Festival. More on this and other stories from the provinces from Janice Cave.
In Albay, families affected by Tropical Depression Usman last December will receive a maximum outright financial assistance of 5,000 pesos. The DSWD also provides medical and burial assistance to the victims. DSWD's cost of the assistance to Usman victims in Bicol has reached 24.4 million pesos. In Cebu City, local police recovered 3.6 kilograms of suspected shabu from an arrested high-value target. The police office warns that the supply of illegal substances, including party drugs, will most likely increase during the Sinulog Festival on Sunday. Meantime, security measures will be tightened during the Sinulog Festival even though there is no imminent threat to Cebu. In Maguindanao, government troops recovered 4 high-powered firearms and an improvised bomb following a clash against the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters. Soldiers of the 40th Infantry Battalion fought with the gunmen early Tuesday in Barangay Inaladan, Sharif Saidona, Mustafa Town. The firefight happened as government troops were conducting security patrol in preparation for the Bangsamoro Organic Law plebiscite on January 21 and February 6. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Up next, leaders of Congress agree on amendments in the bill abolishing the road board. Baguio City records its coldest temperature so far this month. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders. Congressional leaders have agreed to introduce short and simple amendments to the bill seeking the abolition of the corruption-ridden road board. Majority Leader Juan Miguel Zubiri says a meeting with Senate President pro tempore Ralph Recto and House Majority Leader Rolando Andaya was successful. Zubiri says they agree that all monies collected from the road users tax will be remitted to the National Treasury. The fund would be included in the annual General Appropriations Act and will be used for roads, bridges, and road drainage. Andaya, meanwhile, says the House-Senate consensus spared the president of signing a defective bill. President Rodrigo Duterte repeatedly called for the abolition of the road board. In Baguio City, temperature drops to as low as 12 degrees Celsius early Tuesday, the lowest temperature for this month. According to Pag-asa, the temperature can even go lower as the peak of Amihan or northwest monsoon wind strengthens until February. The weather at the country's summer capital usually drops in the months of January and February, which in recent years extends to March. The lowest recorded temperature in Baguio was 6.3 degrees Celsius on January 18, 1961. Meanwhile, in Atok, Benguet, the first signs of frost were also recorded Tuesday morning. Atok is host to high elevations, including the highest peak in the Philippine highway system. The temperature in Atok is between 8 to 10 degrees Celsius, which can trigger the frost. Authorities say frosting will not affect the prices of vegetables as the phenomenon only occurs in a small part of Atok, Benguet. In our foreign news, France has granted a loan to Iraq to support reconstruction efforts in areas destroyed by war against extremists. Aside from the loan worth $1.15 billion, French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian said France has to continue its humanitarian assistance in areas that were under control of the Islamic State. For his part, Iraqi Foreign Minister Mohammed al-Hakim said they discussed many political and economic issues, including the entry of French companies into Iraq, as well as cooperation in cultural and educational fields. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Adel Abdul Mahdi hailed France's support to Iraq in its war against extremists and its coordination in supporting security and stability in the Middle East. In sports, Olympic swimmer Jasmine Al-Khadi will swing back to serious practice for the coming SEA Games as she prepares for a two-leg European training. The 25-year-old Olympic swimmer is leaving this week for her first ever overseas training, which will be held in Spain and Italy. She says she has another training camp to take place later this year, a tune-up race in Singapore this March, and another training camp right before the SEA Games. Al-Khadi, who has been in 2 Olympics and 3 Asian Games, looks to finally taking the gold medal in this year's SEA Games. More families are set to move to temporary homes as Task Force Bangon Marawi launches over 1,000 additional shelters to be set aside for those displaced from Marawi City. Sweet Lukman has the story.
Another 550 displaced families are set to move into transitory shelters built by the Task Force Bangon Marawi through the National Housing Authority come January 17. Located in Barangay Boganga, a total of 1,500 transitional shelters would be constructed in a land area of 15.95 hectares. Each housing unit has a floor area of 24 square meters with partitions, kitchen sink, restroom, and a rainwater catchment. A technical working group spearheaded by the local government of Marawi identified the beneficiaries for these shelters. The beneficiaries are coming from the 24 barangays in the most affected area of this war-torn city. TFBM continues to expedite the construction of transitory shelters to free the displaced families from crowded evacuation centers. Another 1,000 housing units are being constructed in Barangay Rorogagus, Marawi City. Together with Lou Antonio for PNA Newsroom, Sweet Lukman, Philippine Information Agency.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Let's take another look at today's top stories.
The families of 7 seafarers detained in Libya ask for help from President Duterte. COMELEC approves a petition of 8 barangays in North Cotabato to join the Bangsamoro Organic Law plebiscite. Leaders of Congress agree on amendments in the bill abolishing the road board. And Baguio City records its coldest temperature so far this month.
Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. And that's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I'm Pia Roses Morato. Good day.